Hello everyone and welcome to the New York Empoleon's Week 8 Battle Team Builder of the APA Evolution League. We are taking on Scoot and the Blackmont Raikougars this week. And if you have not seen him before, again, his link will be in the description below. All of my opponents always are in this league. Even if they're not uploading, I figure I'll give their channel a shout out because I am uploading and we'll go from there. So his link is down there. I've never played him before. I have no experience against him. So we're going to find out how this goes. Hopefully it goes well and we can just kind of see ourselves back in the win column after last week's little diversion. My front office had a stern talking to about how they weren't helpful last week, and so we have moved forward and we have had some more help and prep this week, so hopefully it all goes well and we are able to put ourselves back in that win column. So anyway, his team is Zygarde 50%, Mega Diancie, Tangrowth, Crocodile, Slowbro, Miltank, Cobalion, Alolan, Marowak, Oricorio, and Piloswine, with Zygarde 50% and Oricorio being his 2 possible Z users. Technically 5 possible Z users since all of the Oricorio forms are legal for him to use. And I actually do think Oricorio makes sense against my team. I don't know which form he'll bring. Electric takes advantage of the electric terrain and has the added benefit of not being weak to Coco's electric attacks, but still doesn't really take them very well. Whereas I think Fire can handle the Scizor a lot better, but then is quad weak to rocks. So there's a lot of trade-offs there. I do think Oricorio is actually a pretty big threat. And then obviously Mega Diancie is always a threat, and I just have to watch out for some of his other stuff. But we're going to lead off with Vaporeon, which surprisingly handles basically his entire team outside of an electric Oricorio, with Heal Bell, Toxic, Scald, and Ice Beam. Toxic is on the obvious Slowbro switch-in. As long as the Mega Diancie hasn't Mega Evolved, it's completely free. Even if it has Mega Evolved, I can later Heal Bell on something like the Slowbro and not worry about it too much. Not to mention the Piloswine, which never switches in hard to a Vaporeon if it doesn't have to, but that doesn't appreciate being Scalded or Toxic either. We are going to run physically defensive so that we can handle things like the Crocodile and the Miltank and the Cobalion if it's not running Volt Switch. And no Wish this week, but still max HP because it's just better. Maybe I should have gone with an odd number of HP, but we're just going to rock out with that. I'm not going to change it now. Been working for me. So next up we do have Scizor. Scizor is going to be Expert Belt this week with U-Turn, Bullet Punch, Superpower, and Knockoff, which hits his entire team super effectively with the sole exception of Zygarde 50%. So like Mega Diancie doesn't want to take a Bullet Punch, Tangrowth doesn't want to take a U-Turn, Crocodile doesn't want to take a Superpower or a U-Turn, Slowbro doesn't want to take a U-Turn or a Knockoff, Miltank doesn't want to take a Superpower, Cobalion doesn't want to take a Superpower, Marowak doesn't want to take a Knockoff, Oricorio, I mean it depends on its type, but probably just doesn't want to take any. I mean, I don't stay in on that, but like, you know, like that's why I said I think Oricorio actually has a really good matchup against me. And then Piloswine doesn't want to take a Superpower or a Bullet Punch. So Expert Belt made a lot of sense because I do have great coverage for his team. Zygarde can switch in on this, but this also can switch in on a Zygarde pretty safely since I'm running a lot of HP investment, a decent amount of bulk there, and then just a little bit of speed in case he tries to speed creep me with something like the Piloswine. I'd rather that thing not outspeed me, so I did run just enough speed to outspeed speed creepy Piloswine. And yeah, so and a Tangrowth potentially if he's running a fast Tangrowth or something like that with HP Fire and wants to just like pop that and kill me. So that's what I decided to go with Scizor. It's a pretty standard set and just basically Bullet Punch will win me the game in the end game if I get there. Next up we have Tapu Koko this week with the Tapunium Z Nature's Madness. It's a free thing for me to click basically whenever I switch this thing in for the first time. There's really nothing on his team that wants to absorb that it would switch into a Tapu Koko very happily. Tangrowth being the only thing that maybe does, but doing 75% of that forces it to be regeneratoring around, which is actually great. And then Dazzling Gleam will take out a non-Assault Vest variant from 25%. And if he is Assault Vested, then I can always just Volt Switch as he switches out into something else. Probably not the Crocodile or Zygarde at that point since Thunderbolt is resisted, and so Dazzling Gleam would be my safest play. But 50% on the Zygarde, which has no great recovery, 50% of the Crook, which has no great recovery, 50%, 75% on the Mega Diancie or the Miltank or the Cobalion or the Alolan Marowak. Everything dies with that plus one of my stab moves, which is why I decided to go with Tapunium Z this week. Max Special Attack Modest, obviously, and then the 220 speed is allowing me to outspeed everything on his team, his fastest thing being Mega Diancie at 110. Next up, we have Gardevoir, which is going to be Choice Scarf, Gardevoir, Moonblast, Psychic, Shadow Ball, and Trick. Trick is there because the Alolan Marowak basically does not want to take a Choice Scarf. The Slowbro and Tangrowth, which are two also possible switch-ins, don't want to take a Choice Scarf. Miltank doesn't want to be Scarfed. So Piloswine doesn't want to be Scarfed. So all of his things that would be checks to a Gardevoir, his defensive checks, do not want to be Scarfed. So I can run Scarf, Trick, and try to cause some chaos there. Moonblast does just kind of mollywop his entire team. Anything that resists Moonblast, which is to say the Marowak, doesn't like Shadow Ball, and the Oricorio, if it's fire, doesn't appreciate Psychic. So that is where those coverage moves come from. And then otherwise, just enough speed to outspeed the Mega Diancie when I am Scarfed. And yeah, that's pretty standard. I'm not trying to like outspeed a +1 Zygarde. I can't anyway, so I figured I might as well run Modest and a little bit less speed there. Next up, we have Black Sludge Nidoqueen with Stealth Rock, Ice Beam, Sludge Wave, and Surf this week. Stealth Rock seemed really vital to me, and Surf was actually better coverage than Earth Power in my opinion. Yes, Earth Power would allow me to hit Slowbro, but I can click Sludge Wave on that and they do about the same amount of damage. But Surf allows me to hit the Oricorio and the Piloswine much harder, as well as the Mega Diancie, which is not harder, but at all. I mean, Earth Power would do probably a little bit more, but Surf hits the Crocodile, the Marowak, and the Piloswine harder than any of my other moves would have. And, well, I guess, again, not the Marowak either. But you guys understand why I decided to run Surf this week. At least I hope you do. Since I did have coverage for everything else, except for the Cobalion, which, if he switches Cobalion in on a Nidoqueen, he's crazy. Not gonna lie. This man is next level if he does that. So the last one we're going to be running is Sawsbuck. Sorry about the cut there, guys. Had a little something happen. Doesn't matter. But anyway, the last one we're going to be running is Sawsbuck. And it's going to be Sap Sipper again, not Serene Grace. I thought about it, but I decided not to go with Serene Grace this week. And we are going to be rocking out with the Hornleech, Stomping Tantrum, and Return, as well as the Swords Dance. +2 Sawsbuck actually can do a lot to his defensive core of Slowbro and Tangrowth, which is amazing. Not to mention that it can come in on the Tangrowth pretty freely and set up a Swords Dance. Miltank doesn't actively threaten me. I thought about running Jump Kick for the Miltank and the Cobalion, but decided to go with Return since Stomping Tantrum can also hit the Cobalion, and Return is freer and not as dangerous if he does decide to switch in the Alolan Marowak. Also, if they do return onto the Alolan Marowak, Stomping Tantrum gets its boosted power, so that's pretty swell. Honestly, that would be kind of a crazy thing to happen, and I would be totally cool if it did. But Sawsbuck has actually a pretty decent matchup this week, I'm not going to lie, and it is going to be able to hopefully be at the point where this team is worn down enough to where Sawsbuck can come in and pick up its second ever sweep in 2 matches, but I honestly expect that this match is going to go to the Scizor. That is where my expectation lies. Tapu Koko and Scizor should be able to break down his team pretty effectively, and then Gardevoir should be able to clean as it needs to, but Sawsbuck is sort of a secondary sweeper if it does come down to the situation where his Mons, which are mostly base 95 and below, are worn down to where Sawsbuck can Swords Dance and sweep the game. And it is, you'll note, the reason that the times I bring Sawsbuck are against opponents who have teams that are generally base 95 and below, with only a couple of exceptions. This one, Miltank, I also count as slower than Sawsbuck because it never runs speed. But Mega Diancie and Cobalion being the only 2 things that outspeed Sawsbuck, and 2 things that don't, like... Obviously, Sawsbuck doesn't, like, actively threaten those 2, but that's okay because Sawsbuck can hit everything else super hard. So, definitely something to keep in mind. And if Sawsbuck gets like 1 or 2 kills and then dies, that's a great trade, because if you're trading a Mon or even 2 for Sawsbuck, I'm going 2 for 1 with a Mon that cost me 3 points in the draft. So that's actually amazing. Even if it only does that like in a couple battles all season, that's incredible value for what it is. So that's the team this week. Hopefully you guys are excited. I am certainly excited to be a part of the APA Evolution, as you guys say every week, and I will see you guys back here tomorrow with our Week 8 battle against Scoot as we continue to try to stay on top in this league. Thank you all so much for watching. Take care, everybody.